If I could somehow pull up a chair right next to my 30-year-old self, I wouldn't offer her a comforting smile. I wouldn't pat her hand and tell her that everything magically falls into place. I would lean in, look her dead in the eye, and say, "You are throwing away the best decades of your existence, and you are completely blind to it." My name is Beatrice Monroe. I am 89 years old, originally from a quiet, tree-lined town called Maplewood, New Jersey. Back when I was 30, I treated life like a rough draft. I thought my mistakes could easily be erased. I believed time was a vast ocean with no opposite shore. I assumed love would figure itself out. I was terribly, terribly mistaken. I am an old woman today. My hands tremble when I hold my tea. My steps are much heavier now. But regret is as quick and sharp as it ever was. What I am sharing with you today isn't something I read in a library book. It is a heavy toll I paid, with decades I can never, ever get back. If you are anywhere near your 30s, or even your 40s, please listen. Do not walk the same foolish path I did. Back then, I genuinely thought love was a magical shield. I figured if two people simply had feelings for one another, the messy, complicated parts of life would somehow iron themselves out. That naive hope cost me years of quiet, suffocating loneliness. I kept my mouth shut just to keep the peace in my home. I dodged difficult conversations because the mere thought of an argument terrified me. I convinced myself that this was just what marriage was supposed to be. But here is the hard truth I missed. Holding your tongue does not save a relationship. It slowly starves it. Every unspoken truth becomes a brick in a wall you build between yourselves. I let tiny resentments build up over breakfast. By the time I finally found the courage to speak my mind, we were just two polite strangers living under the same roof. If I could shake my 30-year-old self, I'd tell her to speak up. Talk when your voice shakes. Talk before the love hardens into mere routine. A partnership isn't about avoiding the storm. It's about learning to sail through it together. And please, never tie your life to someone expecting them to transform. People reveal their true nature very early on. Believe them the first time. Love without deep respect will leave you entirely empty. Do not linger in a miserable situation simply because starting over looks scary. The passing years do not reward your hesitation. In my 30s, I also treated my body like a rented machine. I thought my energy was an unlimited resource. I could run on fumes, eat terribly, skip my sleep, and just laugh it away the next morning. I kept promising myself I'd focus on my well-being later. But later has a funny way of arriving with a heavy invoice. Your body is a quiet record keeper. It notes every skipped meal. It started with whispers for me. An ache in the knees, mornings where I felt just as exhausted as when I went to bed. I brushed it all off. Then came the afternoons, sitting in a cold doctor's office, hearing words like permanent and management. That is when the devastating reality set in. I spent too much time sitting down. I wore my daily exhaustion like a badge of honor. I equated resting with giving up. How foolish I was. To my younger self, I would say this: get up and move, especially on the days your mind tells you not to. Stretch your limbs. Sleep isn't a luxury for the lazy. Stop ignoring the warning lights on your dashboard just because the people around you are running themselves into the ground. When your mobility vanishes, your world shrinks to the size of a single room. Do not wait until your body screams to finally start listening to it. I also desperately wanted to appear successful. I wanted the neighbors to think I had it all completely figured out. So I painted on a mask of pure confidence. My ego was always much louder than my conscience. I would dig my heels into an argument, even when I knew deep down I was dead wrong. I watched wonderful people slowly drift out of my life, not with a dramatic door slam, but with a quiet fade. By the time I realized the room was empty, ego doesn't act as a shield, it acts as a cage. I wish I had listened twice as much as I spoke. I wish I had chosen harmony over being right. That same pride completely blinded me when it came to finances. I bought things I didn't need to impress people I didn't even truly know. Financial ruin doesn't kick the front door down. It creeps through the floorboards and steals your sleep in the middle of the night. I would tell young Beatrice to build a fortress before she ever buys a throne. Save when the sun is shining. True peace of mind is infinitely more valuable. Pride whispers that the good times will never end. Wisdom prepares an umbrella. But my greatest sin was how I handled time. I operated under the delusion that time belonged to me. I thought I was the master of the clock. I sprinted through my days. I rushed through dinners. I hurried my children along. I was constantly occupied, but rarely present. I would tell my dear friends, I'll come visit next month. Next month turned into the holidays. The holidays turned into next year. And then, suddenly, there were no more next years for them. I can still vividly recall the sight of my father waving from his porch, assuming I'd see him the following weekend. I was too busy looking at my watch to really look at him. I spent my children's youth mapping out their future instead of sitting with them in the present. I miss the small, quiet magic, the silly questions, the tugs on my sleeve. I kept telling myself I'd finally relax when things settled down. Listen to me. Life never settles down. You just run out of energy. The decades evaporate. One morning, you catch your reflection in the hallway mirror, and a frail stranger looks back, carrying a heavy suitcase of what ifs. Time never taps you on the shoulder to say goodbye. It just slips out the back door while you are making other plans. If I had 5 minutes with the girl I used to be, I would plead with her to take her foot off the gas. Sit on the porch a little longer. Have the conversation without glancing at your phone. Do not delay your kindness. And for heaven's sake, do not wait until the end of your life to start living it. You don't lose your life in one tragic sweep. You lose it in a million tiny postponements. You do not have forever. Stop pretending that you do. If these words stirred something honest inside of you today, do not just nod and scroll past. Make a different choice right now. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more real lived wisdom.